Okay, so after finishing the second order condition of constant optimization, we are now directly into the comparative static of utility maximization. Here, in essence, what we will be doing is we will be connecting Marshallian demand and Hicksian demand, and we'll be connecting them through Hicksian compensation. Okay, something that we have studied earlier, but using diagrams. So here we will be using mathematics. Okay. Now the result that we have got earlier is price effect equal to substitution effect plus income effect. So here it is the same result that we will obtain, but mathematically. Okay. Now that itself is called Slutsky equation because the result is derived by Slutsky. Okay. All right. Now before doing that, we'll just check our background. So what we have here. So what we have, first of all, are the parameters. Okay. And comparative statics is essentially studying the effects of changing a parameter. That's what we do. So what are the parameters? The parameters are px, py, m. So price with respect to x, with respect to y, and income. Okay. Now, from second order condition that we have studied, we have seen that bordered Hessian is essentially our Jacobian. And if I say that SOC is satisfied, then that implies that for this utility maximization problem, bordered Hessian is positive, which implies that we have Jacobian non-zero, because non-zero Jacobian is good enough for what we will be doing. So what this reminds us, it reminds us of something that applies. So apply implicit function theorem. That's what we are going to do. What it allows us to form implicit functions, right, in terms of the parameters, and it allows us to say this, that if I am being able to find dx star dpx at equilibrium, then it will be equal to del x star del px, which is the comparative static effect of changing px on the equilibrium amount of x. So something that we are actually searching here. So that's how non-zero Jacobian will help. Okay. So now we will take the one of the possible standard structure of a utility maximization problem, and from there, step by step, we will achieve the Slutsky equation. Okay. So what is the structure of problem here? The problem is this. So our problem is this. U equal to u of x comma y subject to pxx plus pyy equal to m. All right. So if I use x1, x2 or p1, p2, the result will be same, just with different symbols. And keep that in mind because different books uses different symbols. So we are here taking this symbol. So what is our problem? Our problem is, okay, let's remove this word from here. So maximize with x and y, u equal to u of xi subject to pxx plus pyy equal to m. Okay. Now the corresponding Lagrangian. The corresponding Lagrangian, we know what it will be. So it will be this. right? With lambda not equal to 0 Lagrangian multiplier. Lagrangian multiplier, something that you must never forget to mention. Okay. Now, the first order conditions. So what are the first order conditions? So script L partially differentiated with respect to x. So that will give me del u del x, which I write like this. So del u del x is basically ux, which in general will be a function of x and y minus lambda px equal to 0. And similarly, the second one differentiated with respect to y. And then the third one, which will return us the constraint that we have started with. Okay, so these are the three. Now we know that if we solved it or solve them, so solving simultaneously, we will get x star, y star, and lambda star. So these are my optimal values, right? These are my optimal values. Okay, now if I assume along with this that the second order condition is also satisfied, if I assume that, then that will tell me that Jacobian is non-zero. So if SOC is satisfied, Jacobian is non-zero, hence implicit function theorem can be applied. So what does it mean? It means that immediately it means that okay, let's like that. This we can write these implicit functions. So what are those implicit functions? They are x star as an implicit function of the parameters, then y star as an implicit function of the parameters, and lambda star as an implicit function of the parameters. Now remember one thing, the whole derivation that we are going to perform, we're going to execute, all of it is done at optimum. Why? Because comparative static means that we are comparing essentially the two equilibriums given a change in one or all of the parameters. So that's what our job here is. Given that all of the things that we will derive will be obviously at equilibrium. Now, we will start with these first order conditions that we have here. We'll start with them, but evaluated at equilibrium. All right. So let us rewrite them, and we'll write them like this. So first order conditions, FOCs, evaluated at optimum. Okay, so FOC is evaluated at optimum, and if I evaluate them at optimum, then technically what I can do is I need to make some symbolic change. So let us remove this script L and xy here from here and write this as x star y star, also as lambda star, this also as x star y star. Okay, all right, so these are evaluated at optimum, but something changed here. What did we change? So what changed is that now we got this x star, y star and lambda star solving the first order conditions. And now if these first order conditions are evaluated at those solutions themselves, then what we are looking at here, these are identities, these are no more equations. So just make it clear. Till the point we are evaluating the values, they were equations. And that's why we wrote as ux of x comma y minus lambda px. But the point where they are evaluated in their solutions, they become identities, right? Okay. So written in like this, x star, y star and lambda star, they are identities. Now what will we do? We will just perform total differentiation on each of these identities, and let's see what they give us. Okay, so we're trying to perform total differentiation, right? Okay, so on total differentiation, so we'll have 3 lines. So first, if we totally differentiate the first line, then uxx dx star plus uxy dy star, and then minus, okay, so first we are going to take lambda, so that is px d lambda star equal to, so both of them will be minus, so equal to lambda star dpx. Okay, so this will be lambda star dpx plus px d lambda star, both will be minus, so we kept one here and we took the dpx on the other side. The reason of changing the side is very simple. The variables here, I mean the maximized values that we have got here are of x, y and lambda, correct? So we kept them on the left hand side and the others, we took them to the right hand side. So the second one will be similar. So let's write them. And this will be py d lambda star, which will equal to lambda star d py. So that will be the second equation. In the third, there is no lambda. So minus px dx star minus py dy star, and there will be no component for lambda, right? But here we have 3 parameters, so we'll have minus dm plus x star dpx plus y star dpy. Okay, so let's just take a pause and let's look at the differential equations that we have written here. They are obtained from differentiating the first order conditions at optimum. Okay, so now what is the next step? The next step is to write them in matrix form. So let's just do that. So uxx, uxy minus px, and this we know, right? We have got this earlier also. So even without looking, we can write it. Okay, without looking at these functions, these lines, right? Because you know what this is. Okay, so dx star, dy star, d lambda star, and then here lambda star dpx, lambda star dpy minus dm plus x star dpx plus y star dpy. Okay. Now, what will you do? Now we will go for Cramer's rule. Now, before writing the structure in terms of Cramer's rule, I'll say it again that take a look at this, okay, and preferably write it down, because while deriving the Slutsky equation, we will be replacing several values for dm, dpx, and dpy. Okay. So now using Cramer's rule. Okay, so using Cramer's rule, what will I have? Okay, now in the determinant form, we know this. This is our Jacobian, right? Okay, this will have a severe lack of space. So I have to erase this also. Okay, so dx star will be, now the value underlying will be our Jacobian, and here we will have, since it is x star, so the first column will be replaced by what we have on the right hand side. Okay. Okay, so the first column replaced, then the rest of it. All right, so that is our dx star here. Okay. And we know that Jacobian is non-zero. To be strict, Jacobian is positive. So we can actually evaluate this. And this is why the satisfaction of the second order is so very important. Okay, anyways. So let's just look at the structure of the dx star, all right, which will be quite huge. So let's just write it like this. So our Jacobian here, and then we have, okay, so we have minus dm, I hope that, yes, minus dm plus x star dpx. See, we are taking the third row only because we have a 0 here, so we'll have one less multiplication. Okay. So minus py uxy plus px uyy, right? Okay. Okay. Plus py into minus py lambda star dpx plus px lambda star dpy. Okay. Yeah, okay. Okay, so this is our dx star. Now we kept Jacobian as Jacobian. I mean, we have never written its form because that will just take more of space, and whatever condition we'll be putting, that will create effect on the numerator and not on the denominator, that is Jacobian. Okay. So first we will look into the income effect. So we'll go like this. We'll derive the expression for income effect, and then second we will derive the expression for substitution effect, and then we will proceed to the price effect, and in the end we will show that the expression for price effect is just the sum of the expression of income effect and substitution effect that we have derived earlier. Okay. So, income effect. In a sense, only income is changing and the prices they remain unchanged. So, dm not equal to 0, dpx equal to 0 equal to dpy. Remember one thing, in many books this is written as dpx equal to dpy equal to 0. Okay, now it may feel that okay, this is correct, but I personally prefer to write it dpx equal to 0 equal to dpi because given any value there is no problem, they are the same lines, but people who are more rigorous than us sometimes they say that writing dpx equal to dpy equal to 0, okay, it says at first that dpx and dpy are equal, and then it says that both are equal to 0. So that's not the interpretation here. The interpretation is dpx equal to 0 and dpi also equal to 0. Okay, in no way I am saying in the middle that dpx and dpy are same. Okay, but anyways, that's just rigorous playing in here. So I prefer to write like this, and I'll say that write like this. All right. So we're just going to kind of substitute that in this expression, and that substitution will make this expression really simple. So here dx star, so this becomes 0, this also becomes 0. So you have minus dm here, right? And obviously here we have this expression which is multiplied. So py uxy plus px into uyy. And here we have dpx and dpy, both are 0. So no role of this expression here. So have here and into 1 by Jacobian, right? So never forget to write this. Okay. All right. So here we have our expression for dx star dm, which is, as we say, is equal to del x star del m, which is equal to, okay, minus of px, is it correct? Okay, so okay, px uyy minus py uxy divided by our Jacobian. Okay, so that's what we have here. And in writing this, we have used implicit function theorem, right? So this can be written by implicit function theorem. Now, obviously we are interested in sign. So just let me write this. This is our income effect. Okay, write it down because in the end we will want to see whether actually we end up with this kind of an expression. All right, so here uyy, this is negative, right? But we have problem because because u x y, this can be anything. So it can be positive or 0 equal to 0 or negative. And because this is true, del x star del m, these expressions, okay, so let's just say that del x star del m, the sign of it is indeterminate. So we do not really know whether it is negative or positive or 0. What you know is that depending on this cross effect, it can be positive, it can be negative, or it can be 0. And we have seen that while doing the diagram, that income effect can be positive, it can be negative, or it can be 0. Okay. So now we'll move on to substitution effect. Now, substitution effect essentially says that the utility achieved at the maximum point remains the same, right? Substitution effect says us that we must move on the same indifference curve, and that gives us the kind of condition that we are going to substitute in dx star. Okay. So what does substitution effect says? It says that the price of only good x changed here. So we have dpx not equal to 0. And because of that, the consumer is allowed only to substitute between x and y, staying on the same indifference curve. Okay. So what we have here is dpy equal to 0. Also we have u equal to u bar on the same indifference curve. Now u bar equal to u of xy, right? So that implies du bar equal to ux y dx plus uy x comma y dy equal to 0. Now we are working at the optimum. So at optimum, also this line, it holds true. So ux x star y star dx star plus uy x star y star dy star equal to 0, right?